Hey, do you guys wanna do the corny introductions? Because I don't. I think
That'd be
anybody
me.
I think everybody watching this probably knows who we
But
are.
just say, like, if you don't know who the fuck we are,
Yeah.
tune into something else.
Yeah, fucking losers.
Fucking losers.
You don't know us?
Yeah.
You've been
How
under a
dare
rock
you?
somewhere your whole life?
You even know what a snake is?
So, so let's just try to get into this. Okay, man, I was asking people what they wanted if they had any questions. There was a lot of shit. I'm like, you know what? I'm not
Dangerous.
even gonna. So Eric sent me a little list. So we'll just go with Eric's list because
No worries.
the internet list will be here all night. Um, but like retic community, where you guys standing on how you're seeing the retic community these days?
Thing is, for the newer keepers, it's better than the old keepers just because their mentality is way different. Most of
Yeah.
them, like, they're keeping them more as pets, and if they breed, they breed, which is cool. Instead of everyone, mainland's like, I love when they post a picture of a hatchling. They're like, "What should I breed it to?" You got 5 fucking years. You ain't breeding that to anything. Like, it's just crazy to me when people do that. "Oh, I changed directions." It's 3 months old, dude. You didn't change anything. You're just like, "Oh, latest and greatest, a better deal." So I
Yeah.
think the newer keepers, like, they're going, definitely going bigger for the caging and this and that, and it's more a pet first, and if it breeds, which is cool.
And that seems to be across the board though in reptiles. Have you guys
Yeah,
noticed that? That's not just
yeah.
retics. I mean, there seems to be a a totally different mindset, more of that European type mindset, which I think is good, but I don't know. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's all fucked. No, I agree with Eric and you. I think that the keeper is evolving, right? And what we're starting to see is people paying attention to the snakes more and understanding what they need and what they don't need. Versus, I'm going to get 16 females, one male, and I'm going to breed it, and I'm going to make $1 million this year, right?
Yeah.
That was the generation that we all grew up and doing,
Yep,
and it
Yeah.
got us.
Yeah. We're all rich now. So it worked out. So if you
Yeah,
guys want to jump into that market and that plan, excellent business plan, no
yeah.
regrets.
That's how we have time to do this stuff
Yeah, it's
because we
just
are so rich. We're just
yeah,
like, ah,
our money's just making money. Like we don't even need
exactly.
to we don't even need to try anymore.
yeah, my money makes money for my money.
Yeah. But
I
yeah,
feel like there's a rap there. Like, ain't
yeah.
nobody making money like Rob making money, or retics make money like nobody. I don't know. Fuck that. Edit that out.
No. That's gone on a highlight reel. The Rob Retic fucking rap. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess here's the other question. Uh, I guess it'd be kind of like a caveat to that. If the newer keeper is much more conscientious about their breeding techniques and their breeding habits and their production and all of that, is it gonna be a little bit harder to sell them projects? Because if they're not, for most of our lives in reptiles, like we've liked what we liked, but we've all, whether it was good or bad, kind of bought into that idea of, you can make money. This is a long-term investment. So, is there like as breeders, what do you guys think we should do to kind of shift maybe our way of thinking or our production to this newer keeper that won't be as quick to bite on the idea of us selling them a project that's going to make them millions, like we're going to tell them.
I think the biggest thing is just the aesthetics of it. Just at the end of the day, regardless of the gene, if it looks like a shitty snake, regardless of
Yeah.
it being some powerhouse mega gene stacked animal that's a big yellow banana. I mean, you figure they buy it, they're gonna sit on it, raise it 4 or 5 years, and if they're not truly vested in it, they're gonna dump it. And a lot of people, they're always like, "I want the visuals." I'm like, "Visuals haven't even been made." Like with the
Mm.
rainbow stuff. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want a SD rainbow." I'm like, "Yeah, you're about 5 years from now, and
Mhm.
even then." So it's just one of those things where I think if you do it where, like you said, with the polygenic traits and you're trying to just make the best looking animals regardless of what it is,
Yeah.
those animals are gonna sell themselves more than you trying to sell someone on, "Oh, this is gonna be whatever it is."
Mm.
Yeah, I agree with Eric there. Instead of trying to, and maybe this was just the way that you worded that question, Rodney. And I mean no offense, but I, I'm a firm believer that I don't try to sell anybody anything. I show them, and then I explain the possibilities.
Mhm.
And if they can't grasp that, then go get a dog.
Yeah.
I got nothing for you, man. Like, and
It
I'm not saying like that certain people when you reach a certain status in the retic breeding hobby or whatever you want to call it, that you can just say this is it. This is what you need to do. Do it. It's more like we are all developing these projects because we have years, decades, whatever experience, and we can see those little flections of color or flections of pattern or whatever that is that we're like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed because I think I can make this so much better. And if you show that to them and explain it like that, I mean, if you're passionate about it, you're buying it, right?
yeah. Yeah, so
You're
I so
maxing out the card or whatever you got to
yeah.
do. Get it.
Yeah. So I think that's yeah, I think that it's not gonna be, "Hey, look at this flashy powerhouse," anymore. Be like, "Hey, you gotta this is a nice looking animal, and it's going to make nice looking animals, and there will be a market." Because like, I don't think the big snake market's always been here, you know what I mean? It's not
I'm
going
surprised it
away.
still is too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not.
people
You know
still
what I
like
mean?
the big snake.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and and whether we, and our super dwarfs are still kind of in that range of the bigger side of snakes compared to what else is out there. So I just don't think the retic market is going anywhere, to be honest. I really don't. But I do think that it's I think those 48 clutch days of that feeling like it was a good idea is over. You know what I mean? And I just
But
I you know.
Well, I think if you're diversified, if you do,
Mhm,
and not to like nitpick or anything, and I'm not
mhm.
trying to be a jerk, but if you do 48 clutches and it's specific clutches that are going to be wanted,
Yeah.
so to speak, then I have no problem with 40 some clutches. I have no problem with
Mhm.
60 some clutches. But if you're just mass producing 60 clutches of 50% super dwarf sunfires or something
Yeah.
simple, that's not it, man. Get out of that. Don't do that. You're flooding the market. You're ruining it for everybody else. You're producing stuff that's not going to have homes. There's just numerous things to that that would go wrong.
I think right now, for everything other than like just brand new projects, that 50% benchmark is just way low. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone wants to get a 50% this and that, but like for albino, like you should be shooting for way higher because there's way higher out there. Like, why start at the bare minimum?
Yeah. Yeah, because I really think that 75% is the bare minimum.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think I don't think I just think it's 75. And I think me and Rob talked about this, or maybe it was I forget who I was talking to about this, but I've seen so much more influence from that locality once you hit that 75 mark. And I really think once you hit that 75 mark with super dwarfs, you're really gonna start to be able to take advantage of the downsizing aspect of those genetics.
making them
And
small.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
and Eric's further ahead than all of us probably on that, so maybe he could say what he's seeing with that 75 plus on size for super dwarfs.
I mean, all mine, like, I don't feed them heavy. Like, basically, I treat them as pets. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to slam them, get them to breed because, like, at the end of the day, like with the purple marble snow, I've been on that
Mhm.
project like 13 years. I think I'm six breedings into it. Like, I could have made low percent way back like 4 or 5 years ago, but I'm like, why? Like, I
Yeah.
got 12, 13 years into it. Like, I missed it last year with the 78% Calicoa
No.
purple marble hets, but at the end of the day, it's that patience where, like, if you actually wanna do it right, like, it'll pay off down the road, and honestly, like, the smaller the females, I was like, "If I can get ball python size clutches, I think it'd be amazing." Like, I
Yeah.
want 6 to 10 egg clutches. I don't need or want, like, 20, 25, 30. It doesn't make sense.
No,
Yeah,
no.
because then you're sitting on, you do a couple of clutches and you're hitting 20 instead of 10. You easily add up to a couple of dozen snakes that what do you do with?
Yeah, and you're gonna sit on them forever because you can't sell one at full retail, then all of a sudden quietly dump it because if that dude finds out,
Yeah, yeah.
that's always fun.
And
Yeah.
if I correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but usually you're sitting on a bunch of males.
Yeah, yeah, usually end up sitting on males, and I was just gonna say that, like, right out the gate off a 2038 clutch, you just dropped your prices just via your own production without selling a single animal,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now
so
I agree with that, but I also like if we look at like Eric, you had said about that rainbow project.
Mhm.
If you spit out a 30-50% Superdorf rainbows, would you be upset?
yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't be upset, but my big thing now, like, like 10 years ago, everyone's like, "Hey, you have to do 50% bare minimum to start everything." Like with the rainbows I did this year, they're 31%, but they have all the like they're triple heads. Like for
mm,
me to take the time to say, "Hey, I'm gonna do it at 50%," it'll take so much more work and time down the road to add another recessive into it. Like, yeah, they're 31%, but I can make visuals and just bump that back into pures. Who cares?
yeah, then
Like
you're
everyone has that mindset that they're like, "Oh, it has to be 50." Why? Like, if
yeah,
you work out the math, like, I think it's faster to do it the other way. Yeah, they're lower percent, but I have enough het snell stuff. Like, if I make any kind of rainbows that are pos hets, I just run it back to the high percent, 100%, het snell stuff, and I'm set.
mm,
And that's another point. Like we were talking just a second ago about having all those extra males or whatever. I feel like there's also a market for that first breeding. Like you were saying, Eric, you said you got some 37 and a half. Is that accurate? 37.
Uh, 31 and a quarter and 34%. The
Okay, so 30s.
34% are like
Did you
double
say
het
30s?
only rainbows, and the triple hets are 31%.
And
jeez,
what's the triple het? Is Anery
GC snow. Yeah.
GC? Okay.
So
So
GC
like
snow, the rainbow.
people say like you would make those animals and you're like, wow, how am I going to get rid of these? But if you just if people are trying to get into that project and they look at it from the perspective of, okay, I'm going to take a 30 some percent female and I'm going to grow her up for 3 years. Because in 3 years, I think I can breed that 37%, right? Or 30 some percent, I'll say, instead of waiting 5 years. So you're skipping 2 years there. If you get the pair, now you have a male that's 30 some percent. You should be running that to all of your pures,
Yeah.
right? Like, so
Because
there's still meat on the bone, so to speak.
yeah, because the way I look at it with the females at 31, I'm hoping to have the males probably sire a clutch or two before they're of age, and
Yeah.
that
oh,
offset the
okay,
low percentage.
yeah,
And it's just going to replace that male that you
Yeah,
were
exactly.
would have done it if you wanted to now, but don't go to
Yep.
the higher. Yeah.
and even at 31% SD on a rainbow, there's still gonna be a market for that because there's a huge market for rainbow.
Yeah.
There you know what I mean? There just is, and it's still an amazing looking animal, and, there's hardly there's been a couple like, the tigers look amazing, I really yeah, the phantom looks good, and there hasn't even been any polygenic, like, work done with those yet, so that's what I'm excited to see is the polygenic side of it, that when people start trying to mess with that color and that pattern on them, so, yeah.
Things are in the works.
Yeah, yeah, old Rob's working on an old ocelot project these days too.
Yeah. It all
Yeah.
kind of trickles through, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, what are we gonna do? Not work with that? You know what I mean? It's like, what are we gonna
Yeah.
do? Not work with one of the best looking retic morphs we've ever seen? Um,
Well, and that's the thing when and you guys can attest to this too. When you're established and you have females, and something comes up like that, the rainbow, or I refer to it as the ocelot, but same thing, right?
mm,
Yep.
When a project comes out like that, I don't know about you guys, but I get excited. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah,
need one good male.
yep,
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun at the 50s. I'm having fun at the 70s. I'm having fun at the next level.
Yep.
I'm having fun the entire time. In a project like that, like I was just talking to another guy about it today, and I said it's just in its infancy. We have no idea what all these other morphs and patterns and colors and whatnot will do to the ocelot or localities as well. I want to stress that too. Um, it's just in its infancy, so I don't think you could make too many of those right now, honestly.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like, I haven't sold any because I don't plan to. People are like, "Are you selling 'em?" I'm like, "No, I don't care to." I just one of those things where, like, I've always told people, especially with the snow, where they're like, "Oh, well, if I do this and this," I'm like, Yeah, but you need a plan for the breeding aspect of it, of just, are you sitting on everything? Are you gonna sell one? And
Yeah.
like with a male, if you sold that male to the wrong person, he's gonna slam the shit out of that thing and breed that thing to everything, and potentially like you're selling like females doesn't matter. It's not necessarily a competition for you. But males in the right hands where they just slam the ever living hell out of it to try to get it to breed soon. I mean, it's
Yeah.
doable. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I cannot change the oil in my car for the next 3 years too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
that's comparable, right?
yep.
Yeah. Eric, what is, I'll get to Rob too. What is your plans with Rainbow slash Ocelot? Just like what direction are you just going to be trying to make like the snow version or like what is the plan there?
All the snow versions, and like right now, because like my entire collection is basically purple snow, you
Mhm.
know, based. And this year, hopefully, I'll hit Mochino snows.
Oh,
So if I hit
okay.
that, I can phase out the, just purples because now I have Mochino snows.
Yeah.
Same thing, like I have the hypo, and the hypo I'm trying to breed to a pure jamp,
Hmm.
and I have a bunch of like 5% Amory stuff where once they go, I'm set.
Oh, okay.
Well, basically, like I want to shrink it down, but at the same time, like even with Andrew with the turn 8, just
Yeah.
start adding, playing with it and just basically being smart enough to, sit on it and just take my time with it and not be like, oh, I need to sell it. Yeah, I can
Mm.
make money on it, but I can make 10 times that in the future and basically corner that market.
Yeah.
You know, I think an issue with, not an issue, but a lot of people, even like when I got in the snows, I bought a pair of 75% Kalatoa 12 and a half Champ from Ben Rennick,
Mhm.
and I brought them together. I got one snow male, that whole such a 9. Then I decided to sell that male and the double het, and I kicked myself in the ass because I could have done so much more. Where at the time, and the crazy thing is, I'm pretty sure I sold that thing for under $1,000 because that was like in 2013, 2014. So but it's just one of those things where like with all my breedings now, I really think it through and be like, I might not need them, but if I need them seasons from now or this or that, because we all get kind of short sighted because like I tell people with the retics in particular, like we'll run out of space more than anything. Money, time, we can sacrifice that all day long. But you
Yeah.
only have a finite amount of space for caging, this and that. I don't want more caging. People like, you gonna add more cages to your house? Fuck no. Like I have the 2 rooms. I'm working on my garage. That's been a nightmare. I've been working on that thing for 7 years. California's great with general contractors that are scumbags. So it's just one of those things where, when I get to it, I get to it, but I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot and I have to sell stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the other thing is, we've all let go of stuff back then that we shouldn't have, but none of us with the legislation that was going on around that
Oh
time,
yeah.
none of us ever thought this super door shit was gonna
Yeah.
hit. You know what I mean? It's like,
I thought it was a group of like 10 of us dudes just
well, it
nerding
was
out.
forever.
You know what
For
I
Yeah.
mean?
for a long time, it was just a handful of us that was
I
fucking with.
remember what Barry Leonard, he dumped that clutch, I think a
Mhm.
week before that April 1st deadline. And I think he sold it like in literally 10 minutes at like $150 a piece for those Calatoas.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, I mean,
Could he
timing's
if he
everything.
would if he would have waited 2 years, he could have got 5,000 apiece for 'em.
Yep.
He would have had $50 worth of food in 'em.
I think I bought those 2 girls, the 2 Calatoa girls I got from him. I think it was like 325 shipped for both those girls. So it's like, you know,
Put a
every
0 on that for a girl now.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, I let go of all those Karampas, Madus, Kalatoas, Jamps, Kaiwatis. That list just goes. But there's no where the hell was I gonna put all that stuff? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Yep.
Nobody knew what it was then.
yeah,
That's the
well,
thing. That's the thing that I don't think anybody understands is nobody understood what we were thinking and how we were looking at it and
yeah.
how that future would start to go. Nobody's seen that. They
Yeah,
just thought, that's a retic, it bites.
yeah. Well, I mean, I always knew there was a market for those smaller retics, man, because there's so many people, everybody that tells you, like, how many times you guys heard, man, I'd love to get a retic, but they get so big. You know what I
All
mean? So,
the
like,
time.
yeah, dude, especially at a show, people that will stop by your table and they want to handle and play with them, and they're like, man, I just don't have the room. It's like, well, we got a product for you now. But
May have
y-
a solution.
yeah,
It's going to take
yeah.
a while.
Yeah, but I got rid of a lot of that stuff that I had because, retics I don't think people realize this, but, like, they basically dropped to 0. It didn't matter what it was. It was virtually not worth much money at, like, 2014. Like, they and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna just have to keep what I can afford to not make money on." And that's, ternates the stuff I'm working with, that's what won,
Let me
one.
ask you a question there, though, Rodney.
Mm.
At one point, I know that you could buy a regular berm for $100.
Oh, dude, they're fucking dude, when I was 2004, I remember trying to sell albinos for like 80 bucks, 90 bucks, I couldn't get it. 40
Yeah.
bucks for normals.
What do they go
Could
for now? Have you looked at them lately?
no.
Like $200.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's like, how does that happen? How do you take a snake? And I can remember the first berm that I bought. I think it was like $300 or something like that. And it was a bigger female. But anyway, it drops down to, you're selling albinos for 80 bucks and
I
it comes
couldn't I
back
couldn't
up.
sell them for 80 bucks. I tried to sell them for 80 bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? I don't understand that. I can't grasp that yet. But in my opinion, it seems like it's almost, and Brad would tell us this all the time, McCarthy. There's like a ten year circle. And every
Yeah.
10 years, it comes back around and boom, you hit that peak. That's what I would really like to express to all these new people that think they're going to get rich is that there's a 10-year cycle in these in reptiles, and every 10 years it peaks and then
Yeah.
it slowly drops and it peaks.
Yeah, it's such an up and down thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why you gotta do it for the passion. All these people are doing it for the money because I got back into retics in 2012 after my break, and all those people that were spending huge money, like, on the Retic Nation posting, like, "Oh, I just picked up 50, 60 breeder females," all the mainland
They're
stuff,
gone.
they're all gone. Even some of the bigger known breeders are all
Yeah.
gone. It's just
Yeah.
like, that whole model of mass production is dead, and it's never coming back, and at the
Good.
end of the day, it's like, for someone to, like, try to house and maintain that would be just insane. Like, why? Why even do it? Like, you got breeders that probably barely feed their animals to keep them alive, thinking they're gonna sell it. Dude, at that point, like, what are you doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Well,
ruining it.
yeah, we're basically into the retic market now. So if we just want to kind of shift a little bit more into the market situation, um, what are you guys? I'm still doing. I mean, I've never like crushed it on sales because I have such like a niche product and everyone doesn't like me. So those two don't really help.
Those are two
Um,
big problems, buddy.
yeah, yeah, those aren't the most easiest things to market.
Is
Um,
that why you're getting into corns?
yeah, that's why I'm getting
Okay.
into ball pythons and corn snakes. Um, nobody,
Hey, what's balls, man?
yeah, nobody knows me in that market, so I'll just pretend to be somebody else. Um,
Good luck.
yeah, but I still do steady. Like my stuff is still steady. I'm still doing okay, and it seems like the market, the current market of the retic industry, I think, is more a reflection of just the general economy. It's not that people don't want these animals; it's they got to buy groceries instead. And so I don't really see it as that weak, but I do see it as kind of oversaturated with some stuff based on,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
I think a big thing is just it's more of a, like, a want and a need
Mhm.
instead of a need, and, I think the market, in terms of selling, might be down from what it was, but I think it's stronger than it ever was because the buyers are way more educated.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they're not perfect, but in terms of just the bare bones basics, a lot of people have, like, they have, the grass concept of the 50% and this and that. But I think them being more educated, it's gonna basically kind of weed out the other breeders that are just kind of like mass producing so-called 50%. It's like, a pure male to a mainland female. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's 50%, but that fucking mainland female is like 15, 16, 17 feet, you know?
I bred it to karma. Oh, okay. I
It's
got
so small.
800 50% super dwarfs from this one snake. I'm sure they'll stay small.
Yeah, well, Rob, what do you think in terms of, when Reach Out Reptiles, I don't want to say was at its peak, but when we'll
Was
say
it Pete? No.
well, when the economy was at its peak, well, Yeah, we'll I won't say
Well,
anything too bad, but yeah, when the
yeah,
economy was at a peak and allowed Garrett's marketing to really be capitalized on for him and the rest of us, we're not there anymore. You know what I mean? So
no. And
what are
what I
you
will
thinking?
say, first of all, I want to say one, I absolutely love Garrett. Garrett, I
Me too.
wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now without Garrett. I think everybody knows that. um,
You had reticks before, Garrett. What the fuck are you talking about?
he put the light on me. Like
Okay.
he said, "Hey, look, people, there's Rob," and everybody's like, "Oh, Rob."
Yeah.
So I want to say that I truly, honestly do love the man like a brother, and I hate him like a brother, and I we fight like brothers. So I want to put that out there because I don't want people to think that I don't want people to sit there and say, "Well, you told me you love him, and now you go on this podcast and you say you don't like him or you act like you don't like him." I absolutely love him. I love you guys too. By the way, don't let anybody get upset. I love you guys. And then to answer that question, what I would say is that uh, my career at Reach Out Reptiles, we definitely had a peak, and at that peak, I don't think I could have produced enough snakes. Um, and Eric, you can allude to this too, like because I think you were with Reach Out Raptors at that time too, selling
Yeah.
snakes to us. We just had an unbelievable amount of snakes, and people were just buying like crazy. And we were trying to put out as much good content as we could and educate the people. And I think we really succeeded in that. And I say we because it was a group effort. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just Garrett. It wasn't Thomas who was doing all the filming and stuff like that. It was a big group effort of that whole company at that time. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think we could have produced enough snakes. I don't think we would have ever hit that ceiling just because of the way things were going. We just hit that stride at the right time, and the economy was good, and we were making good snakes, and we had consigners like Eric Lee that were putting out some really beautiful stuff. And I can name a few other consigners too, but it doesn't matter at this point. But that would be the way I would answer that.
Yeah.
It was the perfect storm.
Hmm.
And we had at one point we had about I think I said on a YouTube it was 60 females I was going to try the one year,
Jesus.
and it was just it was a cluster.
Hmm.
It was a cluster. There were some uh, thermostat issues. There was some heating problems, and couldn't maintain certain temperatures, and it kind of fell apart there. But I was still able to get 24 of them to go, 24 or 25 to go that year, which was my last year. Which um, we all know that.
Yeah, do you notice though, like, when you try to do too many females, you hit on less than if you're you know what I mean? If you actually just have less females, like, I know the fewer I'm trying to breed, the higher my success. That just seems like across the board with me.
Well, I think that comes down to your attention,
Yeah.
right? If you're trying to breed 60 females, you really have to have your hand or your finger on that pulse. You have to know what every one of those snakes is doing or is going to do or predict what they're going to do and try to combat or go with that, right? And the more you have, the harder that is, obviously. I mean, 60 is a ridiculous number of super dwarfs to breed in one year. Um, 20 was a ridiculous amount. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how many you guys have done in a year, but that 20 some snakes in one year, I was pulling my hair out.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever bred over 20. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
done. I think maybe 12 to 14 was the most I've ever done.
How about you, Eric?
Like around 10. Around 10.
Yeah.
10. Yeah.
People always ask,
It's a
like, "What do you
different
do?"
feat.
No, I don't do the social media because I do the snakes, and I always fuck with people. I'm like, "I run a Chinese sweatshop." And they're like, "What?" "Yeah, I'm a one-man show." Like, I either do social media or I just take care of the animals. I just take care of the animals, like, you know, give and take. But
That's
no,
what I
I
like
think
about Rodney doing this, Eric, if you don't mind me interrupting.
yeah,
I don't have the time or patience to do all this.
yeah,
And Rodney's got this setup that's like perfect. And I just feel like, why not, man? Let's do
it's
this.
easy.
Let's
Yep.
put more good, positive content out there and show people what we can do and show them what they're capable of. Some of these, like we're talking about these new breeders and stuff, and they've never produced a clutch of snakes. Like, holy cow, are you in for a shock? It's going to be exciting. Let's go.
Yeah, well, that's why I
Yep.
wanted to start doing this stuff. I was like, well, and unfortunately, when Thomas left Reach Out Reptiles, like, he did a lot of video shit. He did a lot of good video stuff, and I was and I'm looking, I was like, "Man, there's not outside of Lucas's podcast, there's not really much out there for retics right now. There just isn't."
No,
And I
it
just
all faded.
yeah,
It was hot for a while, then all the guys kind of just, sputtered out and just
yeah,
kind of stopped it.
They didn't
yeah.
make money.
Well, that's the thing. None of us are getting paid for this. So, I mean, it is
What?
something. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it is an hour or two you got to put in that you could be cleaning, you could be on social media, but I still think one, this helps people, and two, it's definitely going to help the people who, us as taking the time to do this and putting out that information for people. And I like, I did that anthrax breakdown video. I thought it would get 40, 50 views. It hit like 300 views or something. I'm like, there was 300 people that wanted to know how, like, I thought anthrax worked. I was like, I couldn't believe that. I mean, I really thought it would be 50 or less views. And
Now,
so so
are you sure Sean's not sitting there watching that
just
thing?
watching it over, just on repeat.
I talked to him the other day. He said that he watched our thing, the first one that we did.
Yeah.
He's like, I watched it like 10 times, man. I was like, dude, you're blowing up the numbers.
Yeah. That's okay. Get me in that algorithm. It's pushing it. That just pushes that algorithm for us. So, but no, I mean, it's and then surprise like the most surprising thing I'm getting is people are asking me to make content. Usually people are asking me to go away. And and they're like, "No, no, just don't be a dick and just tell us stuff." I'm like, "All right, I guess I'll do that."
That's the trick, buddy. That's the trick. Don't be a
Yep.
dick and tell us stuff.
Yeah. So, but what are you guys thinking for the future of the retic market? Because I don't think we can take prices back to where they were at the peak, unless something really weird fucking happens. But what do you guys think about that for pricing going forward?
I think it depends on the animals. Like,
Really?
my goal is to get most of my snow stuff at like 80, 90% down the road. So even with the rainbows, same thing, but shit, that's probably another 10, 15 years on top from where I'm at
Yeah.
now. But it's just one of those things where as long as you're super selective and you take your time, you don't rush it, it just, it'll get there. But, you know, market the way it is in terms of, the buyers are being more educated. They're way more selective in terms of what they buy. Back in the day, you could have probably talked me into a 50% animal, but nowadays I'm just like, I tell people just if you can save your money, get something higher than 50 because 50 is pretty low depending on what you're doing and what you want, especially something established like snow projects.
Yeah.
Snow is like the sky's the limit in terms of, I mean, yeah, it costs way more, but those prices for the higher percent stuff, I think you're still going to get it just because once you start showing people like anything higher than 75, you're like, oh, that's like exponentially higher, like the 87.5% stuff, or, it just, even in the future, like right now, I've already worked it out where
Hmm.
I want to start producing like 96%, like just platinums, like pet stuff. Not that it
Yeah.
has to be anything crazy, but a nice looking 96% ST platinum, like that's a no brainer, you know?
Yeah. Because it's not gonna get big. And
Yeah.
and also one thing, real quick, I think it's good that people like we're talking about how long term this is because you're saying, "Hey, that's 15 years out." Well, that's the reality of this
Mhm.
of this
Yep.
game. You know what I mean? So, and Rob brought that up in that uh podcast we did about a month ago. He's like, "Hey, if you think you're gonna cash in 3.5 years, you are
Yeah,
fucking
no.
delusional." Well, I don't think those were your words, but they're pretty
You
close.
do it. Let me know
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. Let me know what the secret was if you can
behind
cash
it
in.
here.
Cash in. But no, I think that's important that like, hey, this is very, very long term type
Well, and if you
work.
don't mind, and I'd take a couple privileges. I don't know, whatever. Um, like speaking to Eric, you've been doing those snows for as long as I remember. And that's the kind of devotion I think that the new keepers need to see is that this is not a get rich quick. This is not a 3 year cash in and go to Hawaii and live in Hawaii or whatever. This is a lifetime journey, right? This is what we're going to do the rest of our lives in one shape, way, or another. And if you look at it like that, it's just exciting. You're not behind the eight ball, like, oh, I need to produce this. I need to make this. No, you're just doing it. You're having fun. You're enjoying it. You're enjoying the snakes for what they are. That's why we're all in it, right?
Yep.
I think I would have burned out, which I'm a little bit burnt out. I won't pretend like I'm not, but I think I would have burned out completely if I wouldn't have chosen to get rid of the localities I did and kept the localities I choose to keep back.
Yeah.
Now financially, it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. You know,
Not going to disagree.
you know,
Although,
fin-
wait, if we're going to talk about the dumbest thing that any one of us have ever done in our lives, that's a whole nother subject, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, financially, that was to keep ternates and sell Karampas was fucking stupid. You know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
fucking stupid. But I
Look at where you're
enjoy,
at. Though.
yeah, I really enjoy my ternates.
Yeah.
And there's no way if I would have kept all them Karampas or even some of the other SD stuff, I wouldn't have got these colors and patterns and all this shit. There's no way. I mean, as much Super Door stuff has popped out, I have not seen the variation in Super Doors like I've seen in the Ternates, and it just I just feel like financially it was stupid, but I enjoy it. I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and maybe long term it wasn't dumb financially. Maybe it's gonna open up, the ocelot or rainbow ternates. Like what are we gonna pretend like those aren't gonna be amazing?
Well,
You know what I
I'm,
mean?
I'm
You
not going to
know?
pretend like
Yep.
that. They're going to be freaking amazing.
And I was thinking about doing I'd like I don't really want to do it, but I'd like somebody to do like a Halmahara ocelot and put that dark fucking background
And then
on.
put it into snow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
I went
don't.
this way because Eric's on this side of my screen.
Yeah, yeah. Put it into whatever. But I mean, I really think that Ternate's actually gonna be the locality that ends up opening up a lot of doors for, and it's also gonna help hold prices on a lot of stuff. I really think it will.
Well, if you think about this, and this was something, if you guys don't mind me going on a little side thing, and we can all put our 2 cents in it. Let's look at this from a breeding perspective. You're going to take mainland genetics and you're going to shrink it. In your mind, Eric, we can go Eric, Rodney, and then myself if you guys want. What is the best way to, if you're just solely shrinking that snake, what would be the way that you would want to do it?
Me, I'd be running it to just pure females from that point, and just even it's not even just the pure females. Like obviously, there's some pure females that are fucking big, so it's a pure, but you pick smaller, girls. I have some girls that are stupid small. I have a 50% purple sun that's a Poss head Henry that right now I think is 4 years old, and she's like 6 feet. I mean, she's on jumbo rats, and she's like literally upside down when I feed her, but she doesn't grow. It's just one of those things where, yeah, she's only 50%, but the way I look at it down the road when I breed her, it's like when people see her, they're like, wait, that's a female, Like you just
Yeah.
gotta be really selective. It's not necessarily just a numbers game because people are always like, oh, highest percent, but you could have a 10, 11, 12 foot, Calatoa. That's 100% pure, but it's still a big ass girl compared to you get others that might be lower percent or not pure, but they're tiny. So I think
So how often have you done that specifically, where you've taken something from a mainland and ran it into Superdwarf?
I did one breeding a while back where it was a 25% Kalatoa Motley Sun Tiger double het snow to the 75% double het from Ben. Then I did the reverse of 75% male from Ben to the 25% Motley Sun Tiger. And the one from the 75% females were significantly smaller than the lower percent females. And they're basically the same genetics because it was mom and son, and the other two were brother and sister.
Hmm.
So it was a 25 to 75, and the other one was a 75 to 25.
I like it. And you didn't have any problems. Everything went
Nope.
flawlessly.
I think the biggest issue is just people overfeed their shit because people are like, oh, I feed it like a mainland. Like, no. Like, people are like, wait, how often do you feed them? Like, every 2 or 3 weeks. If they're not breeding or they're not cycling, like, yeah, they'll eat every week, obviously, but Why do I
God,
want a fat snake?
Yeah, they'll eat
You know,
twice a week.
yeah,
You know, they'll eat as
it
much as
doesn't
you
like
wanna fucking feed them.
it
You
doesn't
know?
benefit it the way I look at it. You're just priming that snake to be super morbidly obese, especially when they're young. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, the first year they're not going to gain the weight. They probably won't because they're growing. But at the same time, why are you priming that animal to be like constantly just in a food mode?
yeah, you're
Because
creating a certain cycle, a certain habit, a certain behavior, right?
like a lot of the old school breeders were like, oh, no, no, females don't breed, blah, blah, blah. Both my GC Snows bred, I've never had issues with them, but I don't feed them heavy too. So it's just one of those things where they're all nice and lean. They get out and exercise.
I think that's the key there too is exercise. I don't think that's done enough in certain areas. But well, how about you, Rodney? As long as you were good with that, Eric. I don't want to
I
cut you off or anything.
I don't I think we have enough medium size fucking localities at this point that maybe don't even go from mainland morph necessarily into Superdwarf unless it's something really specific. Like, if it's going to be, especially if it's a codom that you only got to put in an extra year and a half, run it into one of the medium sizes, bump up that color, bump up that pattern. You're eliminating 50% off the mainland blood with that breeding. Now, when you breed it into the Superdwarf, you're only, you're only looking at 25% mainland blood. I think between Ternate Talmas, the Mindanao stay pretty small, the Tambalongans, Salayers, Jamps, Kiowatis, maybe put in a little extra work and to get those colors and those patterns kind of in place before you go into that sand trap of super dwarfs, because unfortunately it just sucks that the most marketable retic happens to have the least color. You know what I mean? In terms of size, that is agitating.
Yeah.
So, oh, real quick, can I run this by you guys? A lot of us lately, have been talking about, these locality crosses, SD to whatever, and we've been talking about how like Slayer is overpowering Superdorf, or Turnate or Phil or whatever. It's overpowering the look of Superdorf. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to ask these guys, see what they think. Do you think we're seeing something that's being overpowered, or are we seeing something that's like, Superdorf just doesn't have the color, so they're just not providing it? It's not necessarily we're seeing this whatever X locality overpowering the look of a Superdorf. It's just like, for example, if you have really bright yellow paint and then you throw some white paint in it, now you have less bright yellow paint. So I'm just wondering. I'm thinking maybe we're thinking about this just a hair wrong. Not that it's going to matter much, but I don't think we're really seeing these whatever localities overpowering Superdwarf so much as we're just seeing kind of the middle ground between the two, because there's not much being supplied genetically speaking in color spectrum from the SDs.
Yeah, I can see that because like Calicoes are basically brown. Brown, you get the silvers, this and that. Where I don't think you have enough color to work with it. So when you do like the Slayers,
Yeah,
they not that they overpowered it, but like there's nothing there on the Calicoa side.
yeah,
So yeah, of course you can see way more of the the Slayers with the yellow heads and this and that.
yeah,
I've seen the same thing with Tom Longan when I put Tom Longan, did some breedings with Tom Longan, is that I think you guys are both hitting it right on the head. The Kalatoa's palette is just plain. There are some colors, but it's not as bright and it's not as in your face, and you're not going to see that across the line. If you look at whatever bloodline of Kalatoa you want to look at mine. I like that one. It's just a brown snake. It's got some black, it's got some white. There's a little bit of yellow in there. There's a little bit of orange, but not very much, like very minimal. And I think it has the potential to do that, but for whatever reason, that species, because of where it was or whatever, as there's so many variations, there's so many things that could make it like that, just dulls it down. Maybe it needs to be darker because it's slightly cooler on that island. I don't know. But I do know that if you look in the color spectrum, in my opinion, that all of the super dwarves are that base level of brown. And once you bump up into a bigger snake, it gets a little bit more colorful. And then even bigger when you go into the mainlands. There's so much color in those. It's unbelievable. I think it's that size thing has something to do with it. I'm not sure exactly what, but I think the size of the snake and maybe it's the security of it, so it can allow its colors to come out in the wild. Because if it's real bright in the wild, everything's going to want to eat it, right? So I think it's something there that's playing on that. But I 100% agree that the super dwarves are bland. That's yeah, got to add stuff to them to get them looking nice.
Yeah, and I think that's why that was why I was saying, maybe we need to start looking at taking mainlands into some medium-sized localities, and then take those into because I mean, that's what I've been doing. I just been running everything into the, ternates and fills, and hopefully people wanna use that stuff for their Superdorf projects. Because I mean, I'd love to do Superdorf projects too, but I mean, like, you know how it is, like, we got limited space. We gotta pick our battles,
Mm.
and, if I can help if me making a 75% ternate whatever and you guys can use it or somebody else can use it to further your product projects, great. That's you know, then what I'm doing is worthwhile and it makes sense,
I think it furthers the community too.
Yeah.
If
Absolutely.
you put out an ocelot that looks just like the regular mainland ocelot, but just slightly duller because you got so much calato in it, boy, you run it like we're all alluding to, or most of us are alluding to. You run it into a ternate, or you run it into a slayer, or pick your poison, and it adds that color. Well, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at one that's just pure Kalatoa that is accentuating all the browns and just making it dull, not that it's a dull snake. I don't want people to think that.
Comparatively speaking.
Comparatively,
Yeah.
correct. And then you look at something that you've run through, and we'll just use Tombalongan. You run it through a Tombalongan, and that Tombalongan adds all that orange into it and just makes it pop. Well, looking at those two snakes, they're not, they don't exist, but in my opinion, I'm going to go with that Tombalongan every time because it makes it a prettier, colorful snake. And that's what I want as a breeder. That's what I want as a pet owner. That's what I want as a collector. I want the best version of that. Show me that in the best version. And I believe, to go back to my question that I was asking you guys, the best way to put mainland genetics into Superdorf is exactly that way. Run it into dwarf and then run it into Superdorf. The dwarf will shrink the size. In my opinion, in my breedings, when I've done a mainland to a pure Superdorf, I've not had the greatest luck.
Either have I.
Killed a couple of snakes. And I think, I don't know, because I'm not a scientist, I'm just a dude that likes to play with snakes. I believe that there's something going on genetically that female that's genetically smaller just can't handle it. Whether it was my snakes, maybe were overfed, maybe my snakes were underfed, maybe they weren't in perfect health. And when I did those breedings, it just exacerbated that. I don't know. I have a very limited amount of information there. And I'm just kind of guessing, but I believe now that the best way to do it is dwarf super dwarf. Takes a lot longer, but you know what? That's the fun part of the project. Seeing that those gradual steps and going, okay, well, that did this. What if I threw this in? So then what if you were just playing with a bunch of dwarves and adding different flavors of different dwarves into it and then ran it into Super Dwarf? Like, holy cow, what could we do with that? Sky's the limit, in my opinion. And that's my rant.
Well, the most colorful Superdorf I've ever seen was the one Eric just recently posted, that Partho.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
a ton of yellow.
I've never
Yeah.
seen that on a fucking Superdorf, ever.
Yeah, yeah, those 2 girls are literally those are the ones that I would literally make those 96% just platinums. Just
Really?
really small, like, killer, like, I have a 93.75% platinum head anery that
Mhm.
I run to those in the future. Hopefully, they survive and just go from there. Like, the projects are great, and I always tell people, it's like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket in terms of ultra high-end stuff because like,
Yeah. Shit
yeah,
goes
you can
wrong.
make 10 yeah, it goes wrong, or you need stuff that will cover, like, just your overhead, basic stuff where you make pet quality stuff, not that you won't breed it, but I think a lot of people get into the retics now, especially more as a pet. Like, 10 years ago, everyone's like, I'm getting into it to make money to breed. Whereas a lot of people now ask me, I just want a cool looking pet. I don't care about breeding. Maybe I'll breed in the future, but they just want something that, looks amazing.
Well, look at the difference now, though. I mean, I would kinda say the heyday of retics was probably, well, like 2010 to 2014, in a sense,
Yeah.
for mainland shit.
Oh yeah.
But, and if people weren't keeping back then or into it back then, there was Bob, Jay, Nerd, and it was, there was these big facilities, these large quantities of production, and that's almost, like, frowned upon now. Well, it is kinda frowned upon
Yeah.
now. So, I
Absolutely.
mean, there has been a total 180 shift in the retic market, and I not that I'm sure there's not gonna be too many non-retic people watching this, but, we kinda do get looked down on a little bit by the rest of the industry of, like, you guys are, like, with the mixed pit bull breeders, of the reptile industry, and, I think I wish people actually knew there was much more of a shift towards smaller collections, smaller production. Um, in my opinion, the retic industry is significantly more responsible than it was even a decade ago.
Absolutely. I think
In more
most breeders,
years.
Yeah.
they've seen the writing on the wall for them to survive. They'll
Mhm.
pick 1 or 2 projects. They're not doing 10 different projects, and there's less is more. Because at the end of the day, like, even with people I know that have mainlands, like, they don't want 20, 30, 40 egg clutches, you know, like, "Oh, I got 10. I got hopefully the genetic combo I want, and I have some to sell and call it a day." There no one like, even like you said, Rodney, like 10 years ago, they had people that had, like, a 20, 30, animal collection that they weren't even breeding. They just have big snakes. But now it's
Yeah.
like you don't see that anymore. You see a couple guys here and there, and they take really good care of their animals, but they're like, "I'm not breeding. I just like big snakes." But those are far and few between.
Yeah, yeah, there's a handful of Westons out there, but there's not many,
Yeah.
and I sold a lot. I started selling off some of my big stuff years and years ago. It was actually before I bought my house. Oh, fun fact, I don't live in my mom's basement. Everyone accuses me of living in my mom's basement. Um,
I'm gonna keep that rumor going though,
yeah,
man. I
um,
love it.
but I was hurting my back fighting with them. I had
Bull
this
rope.
Oh, yeah, man, I
Yeah.
had this big, like, 19-foot tiger, het purple. Dude, and she wasn't a biter, man, but it was just this fucking battle every time I had to get her out of the cage or do anything, and, I blew my back out so many times with that snake. I was like, "She's gotta go." But I think, because I don't have anyone helping me, it was just me. I think at the height of my big snake collection, I had close to 20 girls 16-foot plus, and yeah, that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun at all, you
You
know?
got stock and mini shovels for picking up that shit.
Yeah.
And my big thing is, like, when I moved out my big girls, like, I had all these people, like, I had that big pied girl that was, like,
Mhm.
18 foot. She would strike occasionally, but she was a runner, and like you said, like, you'd have to try to get out of there, and I was like, all these people are like, "Oh, I want her, I want her." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want the liability." "Oh, I got
Yeah.
this snake from Eric, it killed me." I'm like, "No, no, no." It's like, after a while, like, what are you gonna do with those big snakes? Like, there's only a legit, probably small, population even within retic community that like, "Oh, I can take a strange 18-foot, like, adult female that I've never handled before." Like, would you go to someone's house and be like, "Hey, I'm on vacation, Rob. Can you come mess with all my big giant
No.
snakes?"
Dude,
You know?
nobody will touch my shit, and hardly any of it's big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
touch
why
your shit when you're there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've put my parasolas up before. I'm like, "Listen, I'll sell them, but you have to come get them."
Yeah,
And I flat out said, "You have to sign a paper."
yeah, and I
Like,
wanna video that.
yeah, I was like, "You have to, you cannot
Yeah,
sue me if you get seriously injured in the process of trying to get these snakes out of my house."
you probably will.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that fucking male's psycho. Psycho, man, I hate that fucking snake so much. And they're, like, the last pair of, like, solo bloodlines for the country, and it's like, "I hate both of you. I hate you 2 so much because 'cause they're just
And the
so
feeling's
mean."
mutual from what I've seen.
Oh my god, they're awful. Yeah, but so, I mean, I think that is the direction of the market. It's gonna be, um, just higher percentage super dwarfs with the shift towards making higher aesthetic value. But, real quick, where are you guys at on polygenics? What kinda role do you guys think that's gonna play? Because I know the carpet people give a shit about it. It's not really a big thing in retics yet, but that selective breeding for those secondary traits, I mean, there's nothing more valuable to me than those secondary traits. But, where are you guys sitting at, on that situation?
I think it'll be the future just because, like, we're stuck with what we have. We're not getting any fresh blood in. So we gotta make do with what we have, and those polygenic traits are what's gonna further, like, the projects. Because, like, we've already seen what just straight line breeding, this and that, has done in 10 years worth of SC stuff.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that we can add to it now is a polygenic traits that are gonna enhance it, modify it, like the back patterns, whether it's open or closed or chaotic with the marble stuff. I think that's where a lot of it, like in the future, will shift that way because we don't have anything else to kind of manipulate the Morse with.
I agree. I totally agree with Eric. But I also have a different side of that because of where I work and what I do. We do a lot of shed testing through a company that I always mess up the name of it because I'm dyslexic and mixed dominancy, and I had letters, three letters in a row, VIP, VPI. Yeah, I'll say it wrong every time. So I don't want to say the name of the company um, because I'll mess it up and I'll feel bad. But we've been sending our sheds for ball pythons there, and they can test for a lot of different genes. I think that if a bunch of us retic guys got together and started sending our sheds to a place like that, we could start having that as well. And I think that if we started being able to test for certain genetics in those snakes, that would help too. I think
Oh,
between
absolutely.
the genetic testing and the line breeding, or however, I don't remember how you worded that, Rodney. Between those two things, I think the future is just going to be unbelievable. With the sunfires that we see now are nothing compared to what we're going to be making in 5 years from now. I think
Hmm. Yeah,
My
that'd be a
big
lot of sheds.
it'd take a lot.
Yeah.
Take a lot.
concern is how many people are gonna like say you have a het rainbow and you're just breeding it over and over to all, dwarf or, super dwarf, like how much byproduct are you gonna make where you're gonna be like, well, I just exponentially increase the percentages because I use this head ammo, bred it to all these, and I shed test it. And let's say the shed test is 100% accurate, you know, but then you make all this byproduct of like, okay, what do I do with those? Me personally, like it's a good idea, but for me to like back a snake that I've produced where, oh, I'm relying on this company to make sure it's 100% accurate. Like, who does that fall back on if something happens? Like, oh, you have a glitch in the computer or this or that, like 5 years down the road. Eric, the snake you sent me, it's not fucking, het rainbow. I'll be like, yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic idea. And I know it works for the ball python people, but like,
You don't think
I'm
it's
just
viable
super,
to retake?
I think it's viable, but unfortunately, like we all know, there's all kinds of, shady, shisty people in the retake community. Oh, it's been tested. It's just one of those things where it would work, but at the same time, people are gonna like I said, even a rainbow, they're gonna run into 4 different pure, dwarfs or super dwarfs, and all of a sudden you have 93% that are supposedly 100% het.
Hmm.
What do you do with all the other animals that you just banged out to get that, you know?
That brings up a good question, and I respect that. And I don't know that I have an answer for that right now. Is
Yeah,
that
I
the
don't.
weirdest answer you've ever heard?
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
I
it's
did.
a legitimate concern, though. I mean, it
Oh,
really
it totally
is.
is.
And I mean, I'm not against this whole shed testing thing to figure out what paw sets are actually hats, but um, yeah, I honestly don't have an answer for that because I see, there's both sides to that. There's a good side and there's a fucking bad side.
Yep.
Yeah,
And when there's a third side, whether or not it's affordable. So if it's, if it's $100 per snake, and you got to test 100 of them, you're proud, it's not terribly affordable at that point, depending on
yeah.
what you're getting per animal. But yeah, I don't know. I really think the polygenic shit uh that I've seen in marbles, that's what really
Marbles are crazy, man.
kind of opened up my eyes to the potential of it. And then, taking it a
Yes.
little further with some other morphs. And realizing that you can really manipulate a morph with
Oh,
some genetics that people just thought were just kind of there or they weren't there. Or if it's I don't see any of this shit as random anymore. That's the other thing. Like my
yeah.
perspective on seeing this shit as what we're producing is in any way random. I just don't see that anymore. I
Mm.
think I only
I
see
think
like
it's semi unpredictable.
Oh, yeah, polygenics, yeah, they're kind of
but not
annoying.
random.
No, no, it's definitely not random. You're just hoping that shit lines up, you
A
know?
lot.
You know, I have to make a sunfire video, um, and I'm gonna show that. I'm gonna show the difference between a ternate sunfire and a ternate sunfire that got a lot of those, uh, genetics for heavy side banding.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'd be
And
good.
yeah, and, you know, because I a few years ago, well, 4 or 5 years ago, I did a specific ternate breeding of wild caughts to make a line to use for Suns and Platinums and shit like that. And, you know, I raised up the female and I did that breeding and, I mean, the one and Rob, we talked about it, she looks like a super Sun.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
she got a heavy amount of that set of genetics. The other ones all got great genetics too, but this one specific female got like a double dose of it, and she
Lord.
has this super sun look to her.
He
And,
looks super sun, no doubt.
yeah.
100%. If someone showed me that snake and said, "What do you think that
Oh,
is?"
yeah.
I said, "I bet my paycheck that's a super sun."
Yeah.
And it's
And
not.
no, it's not. It's not a super there's no way it's a super sun. I
Yeah.
don't because I mean, she has some other traits that really suggest she's not a super sun. She just has a ton of side color, and, you know, that's what I was going for with that. But, you know, it was a small clutch, but only she was the only one out of that that got that really heavy influence. They all got it, but she just got a lot of it. So that's the other downside of the whole polygenic game is you don't know exactly how that shit's gonna play out. And you can hope the shit lines up. It's always gonna make nice stuff, but whether it's gonna make it like super crazy, that's what you know. That's the big question mark. You just don't know there.
I can't help but think of that Mike Tyson line. Everybody has a plan before they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Everybody has a plan before that clutch hatches.
Yeah.
And then the clutch hatches and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what's that?" Or, "Oh, that's not what I thought it would be." Or whatever the case may be, right?
But how far do you think we can even push a morph? Um, and I'll use marble as an example because I had a clutch of marbles that died right at the end of incubation. I don't know if I did something stupid or what the fuck happened. Um, but they actually Rob, I sent you a picture of this. Eric, I don't think you ever saw these.
No, I
They
don't think I did.
I'd cut open the eggs and they were dead. They fucking smoked every marble I've ever made. Like smoked
Mhm.
them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and, it was I had combined Philippine blood, Calato blood, and Ternate blood, and, some Jamp blood, I think, was in there too, I forget. Dude, they were I honestly, when I saw them in the egg, unfortunately, they were dead, but I was like, I had no idea that the marble gene could be pushed that far. So I really think there's a much bigger range than we even realize on just how far you can actually push a morph.
I don't think we've seen it for the most part, just
Yeah.
because we haven't added all the other locality stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the standards Kalatoa, maybe, whatever other SDs, but down the road, once you start having 2 or 3 or 4 different localities into a mix,
Mhm.
I think you can start seeing some drastic changes, and this is gonna blow most of the ordinary, like, Kalatoa-based stuff out of the water.
Yeah.
Agree. Agree totally. I've seen the marbles where you could look at them and say, "Oh man, that looks a lot like a tiger," where they have that like
Mm,
overlapping pattern or that almost like a fireman's ladder or I don't know what
on
the
the
heck.
back. Yep.
Yeah, and then I've seen them to where they're striped out to where they almost look like a genetic stripe. So I think everything in that scale is possible with the marbles. Well, and then you look at some marbles and they got a pattern on the neck, a pattern on the back, and a pattern on the tail. Totally different. So like I think you could play with any of that and get it to go across the snake or elongate it even more. You know what I mean? Lots of possibilities, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I think the important point with that is the variation we're seeing isn't I within the morph itself, and I think
I think
that's
you're
some
getting both though. I think you're getting
yeah,
that variation in the morph, and then with the locality, it's expressing all that even more.
yeah, yeah,
Almost like a 1-2 punch type of thing. I'm
yeah.
on a whole fight thing now.
Yeah, I see you've, switched directions with your metaphors. Um, but yeah, but I do think that's important to realize that, so much of this variation is actually the second set of genetics that, we basically have, up until recently, pretty much all just taken for granted, or just either taken
Big
for
focus.
granted or ignored,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think the breeding aspect of it is just evolving, just like the keeping aspect,
Yeah.
where people are realizing, oh, look, you start, the locality influence. Because you figure, what, 10 years ago, there was nothing. It was just, gene stacking morphs,
Mhm.
thinking you'll make it better, and all you got was a brown or yellow snake. Now people are realizing, like, oh, look, locality influences actually, play a role in it.
Yeah.
You become more of an artist, I think, as well. Instead of just like you said, Eric, gene packing and going, "Oh, that's a brown snake. Awesome." When you start looking at it like, "Okay, how do I want this to look? If I could let my imagination go wild, what colors would I want to accentuate in that snake?" And look at it from that perspective, and then try to put all that into it. Just to clarify what you're saying, Eric, I think that's
Yep.
added to it is the direction that we're headed, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. I think the future looks super bright there.
What okay, what does the future look like for the people that aren't gonna do any of this?
Shit.
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah, brown, not bright. Because, as so many of us are moving towards higher percentages, secondary traits, trying to make stuff look better, um, what does that mean for the mainland community, though? And I don't wanna shit on the mainland community, I'm just saying, like, once we get up to, a 75%, uh, platinum super dwarf that looks really good, as prices are coming down, which they just come down, it's what it is. What does that do to the price of a mainland platinum, long term? Because eventually, Eric, what do you think? You think we'll see 75% platinum SDs at $500? To me,
Probably.
yeah, to me that just seems
Eventually,
inevitable. Yeah,
I mean, the way I look at it, like,
yeah,
5 years ago, like, 50% was a benchmark.
yeah,
Now, I think with a lot of it, like, we've been in it long enough, for some of the morphs at least, where 75 should be the new benchmark, especially with the codom
yeah,
or incomplete, whatever. It's like, there's no reason for you to be like, "Oh, I'm making 25 or 50s," where, you know, I think as that happens, the mainland guys, they're gonna be kind of asked out, because there's always gonna be a market for big snakes, but it's few and far between. And I got out of it for the simple fact that you figure, like when I was in Arizona, there was a bunch of the market for reptiles out there was predominantly like paycheck to paycheck type younger,
Mhm.
younger generation, which is fine. But every time something happened, I got to sell this, I got to pay bills,
yep,
and you can't do that with the retic.
Mhm.
Ball pythons, you can rehome, you can basically give away. Someone would take it. It's a pet rock. A retic, just a liability of a big snake. Like when I was moving all my big girls out, I'm like, people are like, oh, I can take care of it. Have you ever dealt with anything aggressive? Not even aggressive, just flighty. Well, she's like 160 pounds of like, I threw my back out and I'm in pretty good shape. And I've got to the point where like I was on the ground and the pie came up to my face and I was like, this is how I die. I'm just laying on the ground. I can't move. And she didn't strike. She didn't strike. I was like, I guess I'm not dying today. But my wife was like, you need to get rid of that fucking snake. 'Cause all the other ones I can handle, no big deal. But
yeah,
like she wrapped me around the waist coming out of the vision, like flying out. Never done that. And I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad. And like I do everything myself, like you, Rodney. So it's
yeah,
like, and unfortunately, like I have my whole knife on the side. I'm like, oh, if shit happens, like it's gonna get really messy, but it's not fun.
yeah. I
You go,
always have box cutters and stuff all over the room. Like,
yeah,
just there's usually my solo almost got me about 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, I don't think we would.
She almost got me. I had to clean her. She needed her cage cleaned, and she didn't get her cage cleaned because I couldn't. Like, I'll probably get some shit for this. I could not get her cage cleaned because she was in feed mode, and she would
Ooh.
not come out of feed mode.
Mhm.
it's not worth the battle. Like I had
No.
when I had the pied, the
Mm,
days where like she broke a pair of tongs, the Midwesterns snapped it because she bit it. Because I'd use the tongs to like have a towel and I'd be scrubbing one side of the cage.
yeah,
She wrapped it and snapped the tongs in half. I'm like, okay, I'm not cleaning you. I'll come
Yeah.
back in a few days, just because. I mean, yeah, you can pull her out, but you're gonna start World War III. It's just
yeah,
not worth
Oh,
it. And people are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you don't have anyone?" I don't have that luxury, and honestly, I don't care to because I have my animals, but even the wife's like, "Oh, I can help you." I'm like, "No, I don't want you to." Just because it's kind of my mentality is like, I took this on. If
Yeah.
I can't do it on my own, I have too many animals, you know? And a big, like, flighty, just spastic snake that's like a giant garter snake at 18 feet when it's just spraying shit and musk is I rather get bit. It it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
When the fun begins, my man.
yeah,
It's
Yep.
when the fun begins.
yeah, that angry, violent stuff I can kinda handle, but feed mode, you're not winning.
No.
You can't get them out of feed mode, you're just that's like
Liability, yeah, it's not even
yes,
worth it.
that's like walking up to a hungry fucking grizzly bear, like,
Yep.
it's not gonna end well,
Yep.
you know?
Covered in gravy or something, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
"Hey, man."
yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know, and I don't wanna sound like I'm trashing on the, mainland market, but I'm just not seeing an avenue for any kind of price stability or even a price that's worth producing the animals once you start seeing this new 75% and above benchmark in super dwarf production because as we know prices like I said they will come down a little bit so
Yep.
I just don't see a path forward for them I mean and I'm not trying to be a dick but I just don't see maybe there's some piece of the of that economy I'm missing but I don't know what it is if I'm missing it.
Yeah, I kinda disagree. I think we still need
Of course
I
you do,
think
Rob.
that's the way I do it, man.
Yeah. That's why I didn't wanna bring you on here, always fucking disagreeing and starting shit.
I'm just sitting here with a big spoon stirring pots, man, that's all I do. So I think that the mainland market should move or adjust a little bit to us. Us meaning the Superdorf and Dwarf guys.
Mhm.
If they start marketing their snakes as, "Hey, look at this crazy snake that I made. It's not in Superdorf or Dwarf. Do you
Yeah,
want it?
yeah.
Let's work something out." And you start creating a partnership there where you have a mainland breeder, say in your back pocket, and you're producing your Superdorf stuff and you're doing things the way you want to do it. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I've got a anthrax ocelot, anery, whatever, and it's all in one snake. And it looks amazing. Do you want it?" "Yes, I do. I want that powerhouse male because I'm going to throw that into my projects and start producing some stuff like that." So I think that there's still a necessity for them, but it's dwindling.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
as our yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I think for them to stay relevant, like you see a lot of the mainland breeders now, they're starting to get into the locality stuff because they see it. Like it does, absolutely make a difference instead of just a normal line breeding or whatnot, where it makes it, you can actually see, reproducible results from it. So I think the ones that survive will shift toward that. And at the end of the day, it's like all these people that are all size queens saying they're gonna grow a monster ass snake. I mean, most of the genetics are probably not even there because they're so inbred on the mainland side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just my personal belief is like if you exercise the shit out of them and you gave them a cage where they can actually fully stretch out, I think the exercise component is way more than just a food component. Because
Mm,
people are like, oh, just feed the shit out of them to get big. Yeah, I mean, if I ate fast food every single day, I'll get big, I'll get heavy, but I'll be a blob of shit. Just
yeah.
you need the exercise component, and like we all know, retics are active hunters in the wild. So if you say I'm gonna grow a monster and it has is absolutely sedentary, but I'm gonna stuff it with food, it might work with some animals, but majority, like you're not gonna see the monster snakes. Like you don't really see a lot of super big snakes anymore. You look on the nation, there's some guys that have some big, legit big snakes, but most of them are 15, 16 foot, which is still decent. But you're not seeing 20 plus monsters like you did, like even like in 2012, where people had legit like big ass snakes.
Yeah, you
And when
only
you do see them, they're just blobs of fat.
yeah.
There's no muscle tone to them. There's no shape to them. They're just because
Yeah, you rarely
they
see
just fed the shit out of it.
yeah, you rarely
Yeah,
see anything over 17 feet anymore.
yeah.
I mean, that's you just don't, it's I don't know what happened to 'em all, but, 10, 20 years ago, 17-foot retic was surprisingly more common then, and retics are way bigger now, and it's you just don't see it anymore.
I think a
Bigger
lot
as
of it
far as
too.
population.
Mm.
That, and I think a lot of people, like, they want the next, the greatest thing. I bred it, okay, I'm gonna move on, I'll move on. Like, there's very few people that they've had a retic 10 plus years, 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, most of the groups, there's probably less than a handful of guys that can say, I have my snake 10, 15, 20 years, you know?
Yeah,
And
there's very
unfortunately,
few.
yeah, it's changing hands all the time. Like, that snake's probably not even, it'll survive until they run it into the ground by breeding it like nonstop year after year. And they're like, oh, look, it died at 8 years old because it's an old snake. Fuck no, it wasn't. It's like, it's just one of those things where I have my big super sun girl. I only feed her like 6 times a year. Not because she won't eat, but I don't want her fat. She
Yeah.
goes in the backyard, cruises, but you know,
Did you see, I don't you guys probably didn't watch the whole thing, but me and Glenn were talking, and there was some he's supposed to send me the study, and I'll put some more stuff out on it. There was a study done, I think in 2014, he said, on, how well, retics maintain body weight not being fed,
yeah, I think
and,
I remember saying that.
yeah, and it was only like, uh
Like a fraction of a percent
yeah, it was like
after, like, yeah,
0.004% of body fat per month of fasting. That's all the more retics are losing.
Oh,
Yeah, and I was surprised by that. I was like, "Holy shit!" 'Cause it had to do with like farming big snakes and the sustainability of it. Yeah, and it turned out that they don't,
I'm gonna quit feeding.
yeah, you should just yeah, on the
That'll be
larger,
out there now.
yeah, 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 you'll be getting some hate mail for that one. Um,
Looking forward to it.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, well, I guess that's we're pretty much all on the same page for where we see this market going.
Well, the three of us have been in it for a while, a
Yeah,
minute or two. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised by that, but I tried to mix it up. You two just kept going along.
yeah.
yeah,
I
we're
think
not.
all the people that will survive will be all the ones that evolve. Because I got my first free ticket in '91. That shit was wild caught, meaner than fuck.
Fun.
And yeah, back then it was tigers, super tigers, and albinos. Those were the only bred things by Jay back in the day.
Yeah,
And this is me making $4 an hour. And like, I'm not buying shit other than wild caught animals. And all that shit, retics were throwaway animals back then because everyone's like, "Oh, they're mean, they're nasty," and they were, but I mean, they were cool as shit. But that whole, like, I think pre-internet days of people buying it just because they're fascinated and they love the animals, even though they're fucking assholes. Like,
yeah,
I don't get that as much now. Everyone, it's always dollar signs. Where, like I said, it's 3 months old. What should I breed it to? It's just like, dude, just enjoy the animal. If it breeds down the road, great. But it
Yeah.
just, I think people's reason for getting into it, like, I remember seeing my first big re-ticket to San Diego Zoo when I was a kid. I was like, "Holy shit, I need to get one of those." So,
I want that.
it's just one of those things where, like, you're fascinated with it. Then you start breeding, like, "Oh, I can do all this cool stuff with it." I think not that the profits, surpass the passion. I think it's just a lot of people, they lose it down the road where they had a collection of 5. Now they have 20. Now they have 25. They exchange their passion for profits because they're like, "Fuck, now I need these snakes to pay for themselves."
yeah.
And I think that's the problem people get into where they jump into it and, like, you see it all the time in the groups. "Oh, I just picked up these 6 babies." "Oh, okay, that's a lot of babies to pick up, yo." It's like, you know?
Well, no,
Yeah, then, like, 3 months later, you never see them post because they've already flipped it or got rid of it. It's like, y get one animal, raise it up, enjoy it, and, like,
But
yeah.
from the
Respect the animal.
yeah, but from the profit side of this, because I feel like we do need to address this as the market has shifted towards honestly more responsible buyers. The high end projects. How do we market that in this changing environment? Like I'll use Reach Out Reptiles. Garrett loves it when I talk about them.
He does.
The $14,000 Sunfire double head albino pied SDs. How do you market that project in 2025? Or whenever. Now that like because we have seen this shift, definitely towards a smaller collection, nicer setups. Um, because a lot of people will talk about you just have to have the passion or you have to do this or that. But, if we want to make a high end snake, there has to be some acceptance of the financial potential of it and that has to be part of the
Sure.
marketing of it. So
Mhm.
how do I guess what's the fine line between this is worth it in terms of profit, and it's also worth it in terms of the enjoyment of the whole process itself of working with these animals.
So, if you don't mind,
Okay. Yeah.
I think if I was going to answer that question, I would also want to add in how do you price your animals?
Mhm.
Because let's just use the rainbow because we've talked about it. And I think all three of us have some sort of project on. Maybe. I don't know.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
No comment.
So, thanks, Eric. I was waiting, buddy.
Oh,
So if you look at that and say, okay, say the first clutch comes out and it's dwarfs. If I'm looking at pricing that 50% dwarf, 100% het ocelot, I'm looking at the mainlands and I'm saying, okay, well, what does a normal het ocelot go for?
I don't think
Well, okay, if
anything
it
right
goes,
now.
what's that?
I don't think anything right now.
20 bucks
Yeah.
or
Free.
80
Yeah.
from the berm.
Yeah, monitor food, I don't know. Um,
Yeah. But that's the way I would look at it. I would say, okay, if I produced a bunch of hets, or take it back a step from that, what did I buy my ocelot visual at? And if I bred it to a mainland, what would I sell those babies at? Okay, now add in the aspect that I'm breeding it into something that's more desirable. It takes a little bit more finesse to breed a super dwarf or a dwarf than it does a mainland, if you guys agree to that.
right.
Uh, so, what does that look like? You know what I mean? And then say, okay, if I'm going to put that price point at, I don't know, just easy math, $10,000. If I'm
oh,
a
the
price point
we're
that
talking a visual, or we're talking heads?
we're just talking hets, and I'm making up numbers.
Okay,
I know that a het ocelot, 50% super dwarf, is not going to sell for 10 grand.
okay.
If it does, I'm making more. Um, all my females are going. So if I set that price at $10,000, I'm the first one to produce it. I put it out there. The people that really want it are going to buy it, right? But then in 6 months from now, three other people produced them in higher percentages or super dwarf and dwarf or so on and so forth. The pricing gets crazy. And I believe that everybody's allowed to price their stuff whatever they want. Do you? You want to sell them for 10 bucks a piece and you sell out in 2 minutes? Awesome, man. You did great. You got paid for the work you put in. Fantastic. You want to set them at $10,000 and sit on all of them for years on end and then breed them back together and whatever. Awesome. You're allowed. But I think that in that initial release, there's going to be some fluctuation. And then it's going to hit a point, a good price point, and everybody's going to say, you know what, that's really where they should be. And the closer we get to that price point or settling out what that price point is, then that next layer comes, and now we have the visuals, right? So I think it's kind of like a step by step process. Did I
So,
just convolute that
you
question
know,
a
so
lot more?
I think maybe to kinda take out about 4 or 500 words you just said, I think
Yeah, thank you.
I think what you're saying is that the initial production of, let's say, ocelot, we'll use ternate, because that's gonna be coming. So whatever that initial, yeah, possibly. Uh, whatever that initial price point is, whether it's high or low, once somebody else does it, the market will kind of even out the prices, and in, like,
Yeah.
the original person's gonna set the price, but once it's done 2 or 3 more times, the market's actually gonna be the more determining factor of what the actual selling price is gonna be.
Like a
Oh,
self rep.
absolutely. Yeah, because it's like anything else. Like even the heyday of the mainlands, it was a
Yeah.
world's first where like you could list it for anything you want.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it too is like I always tell people is like, snails are great. They've held their prices pretty consistently for the higher percent stuff for 10 plus years for that reason. Because at
Yeah.
75%, there's not a whole lot of people that can make that, 50%, 25%, whatever they have them. But once you start going over 75%, I think you can basically, you know, name the
Yep.
price.
Yeah.
Once you start adding other things like triple recessive projects, like if you're making visuals, they might be low percent, but you own that market because who's going to touch you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you're the first to do it,
Yeah.
You
Now,
know, I
what
get eggs in April, you get eggs in May, you get eggs in June. I'm setting the price, but by the time Rodney comes in, now we're kind of okay. We're all kind of doing the same thing, right?
Exactly.
now, in your guys' opinion, what do you think's more valuable, a visual ocelot or now I'm biased as fuck, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not. But what do you think's more valuable, a visual ocelot or a pair of the ocelot or ternate head ocelots? I know what I'm going with long term.
Go with the hets just because of what you can do with them.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
once you make the visuals, like, sky's the limit.
yeah.
I'm
And
not
right
in a rush
now
to make the visual.
yeah, and right now, like, we've seen the ocelot market where, like, 5 years ago, it was super crazy expensive. Now,
Mhm.
not so much, you know? And it's gonna get watered down more and more season after season, so you have to stay ahead, whether it's adding other recessives or, the locality stuff to it. 'Cause that's how we all wanna stay ahead of the curve, and that's how you do it. The visual, it'll like, that's the way I look at it, like, I don't see the visuals as the endpoint. Everything along the way, like adding locality, is what's gonna make that endpoint even better.
Well, Andrew asked me, he goes, "Hey," he said he didn't think you guys are probably even gonna sell on any of those.
Yeah,
No, and he goes, "But
Me?
what do you think?"
Everything.
Yeah. He goes,
I just
what do you think on a
I think
price?" And I said I would think $5,000
For what?
probably
Exactly.
for a pair or for one or
for a pair. I said, "You might get someone to bite at 5,000."
For a
I
pair
don't
of
know.
ocelot,
Uh,
100% het ocelot, 50% ternate.
yeah,
Yeah, I think 5 grand's a great price. I'd say seven, but yeah.
really?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, that first initial person making them, if they list them, they can list them high because, you always get wiggle room to work with
Mhm.
it, just sales 101. But after that, as more people do it, it'll come down. But my thing
You
is,
think
like,
Steph made mine before Rodney?
in respect, you'll have them for
Yeah.
sale.
Yep.
7 grand. Everybody let that air out there.
Mm,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
no. But no, I mean, I think, yeah, 5 grand, 7 grand. I think and to me, I honestly think a pair of hats like that is more valuable than just a straight mainland, to be honest,
Yeah, for sure.
at least
And I think go
at
ahead.
least in my way of thinking and what I'm doing, I do think it's if I'm picking, that's what I'm picking. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are gonna be disappointed when they keep on being told their stuff's like Anery. Like, that's just a giant pet peeve of mine, but I don't say anything because I just don't care.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone's like, "Oh, for sure." I'm like, "No, I've actually ran mine to snows. I 100% know." So, like,
Yeah.
no, I have great looking, but he 100%
I heard it looks
isn't.
nice.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where
Yeah.
all these people, it's like, it's always odd to me, people saying their stuff is Anery when they have absolutely no Anery stuff in their collection, but they're the expert of it. I'm like, "Okay, cool." I
Yeah.
just hope those people that you burn down the road, you never make that right, It's just shitty that people jump on that bandwagon. "Oh, look, it's Anery because it fires up."
You
It's
know
a
that
retic,
for
yo.
firsthand experience of some of those anery things, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You got
Ooh.
hosed a
You
little
went
bit
there.
back in the day.
Yeah. Jason Reed with that so-called Anery Motley Het purple that was fucking a Motley Het purple. She was gorgeous. She looked
Yeah.
Anery, but nope.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
I
one
mean,
of those things, you
that's the
know?
thing though, because even back then, whether it was intentional or wasn't intentional, a lot of shit looked anery,
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And it's like, I just err on the side of caution and just, I don't even work with anery. Because if I ever fuck up, I will get crucified.
Oh,
Could you
I'll be
imagine
all
if
over you.
Rodney sells an anery, it doesn't turn out to be an anery? There'll be fucking billboards. It will not go well. So I just, yeah.
The
So
property I just bought has a billboard, so I will put it up.
yeah, I just, yeah, I stay in my lane for some stuff like that. Um, yeah, but no, hey, real quick, what do you think? I know there's a lot of shit about Jag, and it's a little off topic, but I'm really interested in Jag because of how dominating it is in its pattern. Um, what do you think a rainbow Jag's gonna look like? I think it'll be phenomenal.
No, the Jag, that gene is so overpowering when you've seen all the other combos in it, where it's either gonna be really amazing
It's gonna
or
be
really
shit.
shitty, and it'll look like a Jag.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like
the
people
thing.
with the GC, like, people are like, "Oh, I wanna add GC." why. That's like the worst morph to add to anything because it doesn't, it just overpowers everything. So I think it'll either be phenomenal or it's gonna be just garbage.
Yeah, I mean, if it lays down that jag pattern and then the ocelot has to work with inside of it, if you could get a jag pattern
Mm.
with, like, black fucking circles and donuts,
That'd be cool.
that I
That'd be
do
cool.
think there is a potential there for a really fucking crazy looking snake. But like you said, it's either gonna be, like, unbelievable or it's gonna be like, "This needs to go in the freezer." I really think it's gonna be because one of
And
the sh
I would test that by holding it by the tail,
Yeah,
and if they do it,
yeah. Hey, I do that is a good test for Jags. I figured that out a while ago.
hold it by the tail.
Yep.
If it looks stupid,
Yep.
gotta go.
Dude, I have one Jag. I have a female Jag. She is rock solid.
Yeah,
Nothing. And then I made a 75% Ternate Jag that's a mess. It needs a
loose.
helmet,
I
you
I
know?
mean no offense, and I don't give a shit if you take offense. Every person that I know that owns Jag and works with Jag all say the same thing. Listen, they all do it, but except for this one that I have.
No, I've had a couple. I've had a couple that
Yeah.
have been Andrew's had really good luck, and I used the shit he was working with, and,
Okay.
it I've had some Jags that were pretty bad, and then I've had Jags that were, that were just I mean, every once in a while you'd see some, then I've had a couple that don't appear to have any issue whatsoever. Because I
So
know
if you're
there's this
looking at like a 20 egg clutch, what are you talking about?
oh,
Good
it's
eggs,
dude,
good
it's
snakes.
dude, I fucking had to eat some crow on that. I'm like, "I'm gonna outcross this fucking shit until it's gone." Well, Rodney fucking was wrong. He's not outcrossing shit, it don't matter. Um, it's just hit and miss. It honestly is just hit and miss, and,
Yeah,
I've had some that were I've had a couple clutches where most of them were okay, and I've had clutches where most of them weren't okay. So, I mean, I honestly don't whatever it's doing, I honestly think it's an inner ear d issue because that's what they found in spider ball pythons. So that's honestly what I think it is, and it's just to the extent to which the deformity is is prevalent, is probably relevant to the amount of neurological issues that we see.
makes sense. Makes sense. And I had to bust your balls. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, but, I mean, do you guys think, like, some people are, like, really anti even producing them. I'm kind of on the
Right.
fence on it, you know what I mean? Because I've seen really solid Jags. I've seen both sides of it, so, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is there, whether you should or you shouldn't.
I think if you like it, do it. If you
Yeah,
don't,
Yeah.
don't.
Personal
I'm just one of
preference,
those guys
just
that
like
doesn't
anything
like
else.
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the
Enough
gene.
projects.
Yeah, exactly, Eric. I got enough. I'm good.
yeah. Yeah, I don't
I
wanna
like
do
the gene. I would love to work with it, but because it has that, I don't want to have to euthanize animals that I don't have to. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, I was really hoping I could breed that out. I was
Yeah.
really hoping I could breed it out because I was like, if I can have it's such a unique gene in how it functions, and, like, if you take a look at, like a Jag Motley, it's so counterintuitive. That Jag just the Jag pattern gets set, then everything has to work within it. And, it's
Yep.
really counterintuitive to see how much Jag affects stuff when you see how Motley has been so overpowering with almost anything you put it to. And, it's unfortunate that it has that issue because if it didn't have that issue, it
Mm.
would be at the top of everybody's list.
It would have
Guaran
been the ocelot in a day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because,
You know what I mean?
what you can do with it, um, you know, is incredible,
Endless.
and
Yeah.
I have never seen a Jag marble nicer than the one female I have downstairs, and she has very little issues every once in a while when she's striking, but, I mean, she's an amazing looking snake, and it just
Oh,
sucks
yeah.
because there's that other part of it, it's like, "Man, I don't want to produce anything that has issues." I really don't.
Yep. It'll come back to you because, like, the buyers, then you deal with that.
Yeah.
It's a never ending thing,
Even
which
though
is
you
why I've
told
never worked
them,
with it.
even though you
Yep.
said it has a wobble, but you're still a fucking asshole when they get it and it has a wobble.
Well, it's
Yep.
like
Yeah.
It bites.
Yeah.
Hey, this thing bit me. I want my money back. Well,
Yeah.
good luck. Same thing. Yeah. Like you tell them until you're blue in the face. Hey, this is. I'm being honest with you. I'm being truthful for you up front. This is it.
Mm.
2 weeks later.
Eric, you
Hey,
got a thing on here, outreach. I'm not sure what, you wanna lead.
It's basically kind of the way I look at it, it's like, for us to grow the community, it's like
Mhm.
reaching people that aren't in the community. And I
These
think,
are
like I said before,
we're the 3 worst people for this, but okay.
I mean,
well,
all the people that are like, paper, dog bowl, like
Yeah.
you're not reaching them because everyone is appalled by it. I mean, it's efficient, it's sterile,
Yeah.
but they don't understand that. Same thing with the little tubs. They're like, why do you have them in there? Because like I have friends that come over, like my wife, she's a teacher, so she'll have friends come over and be like, oh, there's a lot of snakes in here. Like, yeah, but I think for us to grow the community is reaching people outside, whether you do presentations, like I do stuff at her school for summer school or presentations, it's just most people never get to see it for
Yeah.
whatever reason, or they're like, terrified of snakes. Oh my God, it's so this or that. It's like for us to keep our rights and actually have it, like you got to reach people outside. Like for you to like convert someone that's a ball python person to a retic, you're not helping because
No.
they're already in the community. So for us as a whole, I think we need to do more in terms of, hey, look, not that you got to do crazy elaborate enclosures, but they help because when an outsider sees that, they're like, holy shit, that's super cool. Whereas when they see, the U-line paper and a dog bowl, they're like, hmm, that's different. It just
Yeah.
we've got to do our part, and because I mean, at this point, we're always going to be fighting legislation one way or another, and it's never going to end.
Yeah, that shit's not gonna go away. There's
No,
always gonna be some legislator or some group dumping money into something, and, that shit's never gonna go away. But, yeah, I don't even know, yeah, I guess presentations would be good, and, the main exposure I think people to get to big snakes, unfortunately, is prehistoric pads,
yeah,
sensational YouTube stuff, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Maybe they look at it, they get into it, and then they dig a little deeper, and they
and
find,
us.
yeah, yeah,
yep,
they find the retic community. But yeah, I'm not the I know I'm not the right person to be doing or saying too much in that manner, but I more than happy to talk about it or support the people that are. Um, but yeah, I
I
guess.
disagree with that. I think you're the perfect person to do it.
No.
No, you little shit. This is how you do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to schools. That's not
No,
that
you're not a
that
school
won't be.
guy.
I'll end up in a fight with a 6th grader or something. Eh,
Remember that guy Rodney that used to do retics?
yeah.
He fought a whole school.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Uh,
wouldn't be good. But yeah, I mean, I think outreach would be good. Garrett did a lot of that. That guy from Intrepid Exotics who had put out that weird video not that long ago saying he wasn't doing it anymore. He was doing a lot of that kind of
yeah,
work. I don't
yep,
know. I don't really know what the hell happened there. I just saw said he wasn't doing the shit no more. Yeah, I mean, I guess there are people out there doing it. Uh, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure how we make the community grow. Maybe more. I think reptile shows are good for that, though. I
yeah,
think I think
yeah.
reptile shows are really good for that.
I see a lot of new people coming in. Like we were at Tinley this year. I'd seen Eric there, and I don't know about you, but I seen a lot of people that were coming in that were just like, "Wow, we were in the area. We thought we'd stop in." And I
yeah,
was like,
for sure.
"Well, yeah, check it out, man. It's amazing.
Yeah,
All kinds
I
of
think
stuff."
I think a lot of that is where people like like we just go like, oh, take the family out, and there's always plus sides to keeping reptiles like you know not allergic to it, this and that, lower maintenance, but at the same time, it's like it's a give and take depending on the setup on what you get. Like people want to get animals like, oh, I want a chameleon. Oh, that's a horrible, not that horrible first pet, but it's not something you're gonna hold and handle. Or iguanas, where the iguana might cost nothing, but the setup is like a few $100, and people are like, oh, I'm not doing that. And I think retics are the same way, where you're like, it's small, but like, yeah, No.
Dude,
Not that small.
uh, iguanas were oh man, they were always pushed as like a first time
Yep.
reptile pet. I mean, I think I got my first iguana at like 5. I was like 5 years old, not a good pet for a 5-year-old. I got into
Nope.
big snakes though. I think I got my first berm when I was 10.
That's early.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my retic when I was 11 or 12 and had it all the way until I left for the military.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
No
was all
kidding.
wild caught stuff where like, what was that note, House of
Noda.
Retic, yeah,
Okay.
Noda, that
Well,
stuff. I was actually importing stuff from Duncan McRae back in the day from Turkey Tafana. So it was just all mean, wild caught shit. I had my learner's permit, drive up to LAX, picking stuff up.
Oh,
We've come a long way,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have. Is there anything we didn't cover? Oh, breeding strategies. I don't have any. I mean, I got a little bit, but
Wow, look at that.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Or breeding strategies or breeding or we like uh well what do you we'll put breeding strategies aside, but what are you guys any projects you guys are excited about working on? What's the plan?
Me me is just the rainbow stuff. Hopefully, I get the hypo going this year with that pure pet Henry girl.
Okay.
Then some like mochino snails, if I get that, then I can start shifting my purple snail stuff
Mm.
other than the high percent, but basically, I want everything streamlined where I can run it back and forth through the mochino snails if I get that,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, because just one of those things where, like, I only have X amount of space for everything, so if I can streamline it and the rainbow's gonna be sitting on for the next few years, but if I get mochino snails this year and bump it up with all my higher percent het girls, like, I'm set for the future.
Yeah, well that's one of those animals that you can literally pump those out and there'll be a
Yeah.
demand for them.
Yep.
Especially if the price point's right, if the people that want that pretty retic and
Yeah.
um and I still think pretty retics are always going to sell. I don't think they're ever going to not
Yep.
sell, might not be at the prices we want them to sell at, but I think they'll still sell.
Definitely.
That market's not going away anytime soon.
No.
No. And I think once we start getting more visuals with the rainbows and the hypo stuff, I think it's just gonna, you know, it'll
Yeah.
take off.
Yeah, I
And there's
haven't
some
I figure
crazy things happen with like or not xanthic, and anthrax and stuff like that. I think we touched on that last
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
There's a lot of things out there that's happening that it's going to take a while to get into Superdorf and get it the way that it looks in mainland right now. But I think that there's a lot to do.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
We just gotta stay in our lanes and not get all crazy buying all these like, "Oh, there's a deal." Like, it's not a deal if it's not helping you, that's my
yeah.
mentality. So,
Yeah, I'm even shifting out away from some more stuff just to focus down a little bit more. I don't like I've made like really nice platinums, I've made really nice marbles.
Really nice marbles.
Yeah, and I just don't know if like do I need to keep doing that or should I try something new? You know what I mean? I don't like
yeah.
Keep doing it.
yeah, just keep making marbles. Well, I mean, once you feel like I don't know, like once I feel like I've done something well or good enough, it feels like I need to move on to something else.
You accomplished it. Yeah.
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 So,
Definitely, for sure.
but at the same time, I still want to see how far I can push it. So, maybe I'll have to find a happy medium, with something. But yeah, like the anthrax endocarmal stuff, that's the direction I'm going.
That stuff is so hot.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm really,
Mm.
I might actually, if I'm lucky enough, I'll make some this season. If they go and the numbers are in my favor, I should produce some visual stuff.
The odd gods.
Yeah.
Get the
Yep.
odd gods. Is there like a sacrifice you can do to them?
I
Let
don't
me know.
know. I'll look into it.
I'll sacrifice shit every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I really need a anthrax sun tiger Indo. I really need that snake.
So do I.
I need that snake. I need that for ternates. I need that for fills. I need that for super door stuff.
For ocelot. For yeah.
Yeah. Rob, have you kind of nailed down your direction?
Man, I'm all over the place.
I
I have no
know.
idea. I'm just having fun though. Really, like I'm looking at my females, and I'm not trying to push anybody. I'm not trying to, like we had talked. I just moved down here and just got the snakes down here this summer, so they're still kind of settling in. And like I had said to you earlier, like I found my pace. I'm working it. Everything's going good. And I'm not going to force it. If I go through the room cleaning and palpate a snake, and she feels like she got follicles, I'll make the decision at that point for this year.
Yeah.
This year's just like if something happens, something happens. Years going forward, I'm starting to develop that plan right now.
Are you?
Um, yeah, yeah, and it's a path that I think that will do a lot of things, and it kind of the stuff that I've been talking about tonight alludes to some of that, where you're taking the genetics and running it through a gambit, if you will, of females to get that ooh perfect looking whatever. Does that answer your
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, without giving any direct answers,
Yeah.
you did very well.
Yeah,
Very well.
correct.
Nobody knows what I'm doing,
Not a
but I just
single
told you.
locality or morph was mentioned. We all have a very clear idea of your plan now. Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that.
Yes. You want me to come on next month then?
Yeah. Hey, I would like to do a couple of these a month. I really, but it's, sometimes getting everybody lined up, and dude, there's still a lot of people that won't go on camera with me.
Not surprised. No. No, really, I am. That is true, Paul.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people that are like, "Nope, I will get hate for this," and I was like, "I don't think you'll get that much. I really, I don't think
The
it'll be."
more we do, the more like Eric kind enough to come on,
Yeah,
and I think you said you had Glenn on
yeah,
the last one. The more that happens, the more that people are going to see that the Rodney of
Old Rodney.
the
It's not. Yeah,
past
yeah,
is
exactly.
gone,
yeah.
and this new
I know.
Rodney that wants to educate and help and
Well, this
provide good content.
yeah, this is
Yep.
me. I mean, like, there's and I told Glenn, I was like, "I'm so glad your book came out because I feel like I don't have to fight with anybody anymore." And that
It's right there.
yeah, well, that's what got me in so much trouble was, like, seeing misinformation.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, motherfuckers do not wanna hear you saying stuff when that misinformation's part of their sales pitch.
Oh no.
You know
Oh
what
no.
I mean? Yeah, they do
And I
not.
believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but where that comes from for you is from your passion in the industry, in the hobby, in the animals, in the localities. You just have such a passion that the way I see it, maybe I'm full of shit, but um, that passion is so great with you that you kind of get excited. And you're like, oh, fuck 'em. I'm just gonna let them have it.
Well, dude, I hate seeing shit, misrepresented in a way that can potentially do some harm long
Yes.
term. Like, "Well, no, it's dwarf, it's only gonna get fucking 6 feet," That's where, because I feel like we lose that person.
Oh,
That ends,
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, that's somebody who, if they woulda got the right information, the right animal, long-term retic keeper,
Yeah.
breeder, whatever.
Yeah.
You lose that person, and when somebody in the industry makes that snake that only gets to that size, you already diluted
Yeah.
the
Value,
excitement of it,
and the
or you had the
value of it.
value too. Yeah,
Yeah, because so
yeah,
many
that's an
bullshit versions
achievement.
got sold of it that, and that's, I don't, but I do feel like I don't really it's in black and white now, man. Like, it's in black and white, and if I don't have to argue and fight with people, fantastic, because I would much rather have these types of interactions than
Oh, yeah.
fighting on Facebook. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's I don't know. What are you guys thinking about the Facebook community? Is it I mean, yeah, Retic Connection, that's yours, Eric, right? Is that the name of it? It seems to do pretty well. Retic Alliance does pretty well. Um, and I tell you what, the nice thing about Retic Alliance is they're like, if anybody tries to put any bullshit on that group, because it's right in the rules, like, hey, this is a no bullshit fucking group. If you do or say something questionable, you will get questioned about it, and there's almost no nonsense in that group. It's pretty
yeah.
solid information, which is nice.
What group is that again? Just for the
It's
masses?
it's Retic Alliance. I started it, and then like, had to not be admin because I managed to piss everybody off. I remember what I did, something. But I was like, "Listen," like, "I'm just gonna step away. You guys keep the group because it's the group was the foundation of the group was a good idea," and I'm like, "Alright, well, if I'm causing too many problems, I won't be an admin. You guys be admins, and, we'll just go from there."
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to shamelessly plug my Berm, Pennsylvania Berm group
is
that
that yours?
three
Did
three members.
did you start that?
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that. I remember that. I
It's the
think
only
you're in
group I
it.
ever started.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I love berms. I'm gonna start a group.
Yeah. I love berms too, man, but I can't deal with those respirators. Eric, do you ever work with berms much?
way back in the day, like when I was getting into it in the
Really?
'90s. But I always go back to retics. I did monitors, Dread Argus for years,
Hmm.
but I just go back to retics. So
Dude, it's hard to walk away from them.
yeah.
Haven't we all tried?
What
Well, I mean, because it doesn't like financially, there's so many other more financially, accepted species that I
Yeah.
mean, working with retics is not a rational decision.
oh,
Yeah.
the maintenance alone?
No,
Like
yeah.
you're
I
yeah.
don't know that it's a decision though. For some of us, I
Mm.
think it's you have to. There's no choice.
Yeah. The maintenance, like Eric said though, man, that shit, dude, I have my Sri Lankan pit vipers take no work. No work. Nothing.
Really,
They are like so easy, you know. You could take care of 200 of those in the time it takes you to clean, six retic cages.
hungry. Reach.
Yeah. And they're venomous and they're like I feel safer working with
Oh,
a short arboreal venomous. I mean, they're not trying to rip my face off. They're not taking a shit and then smearing it on everything. They don't do none of that. They don't do any of the things that retics do.
you heard it here first, guys.
Mm.
Rodney passes away from a venomous bite. Free handling. That's the next video.
Well, I am gonna do a venomous uh video
Well,
and
you definitely should.
well, I'm not even gonna ask anybody to come on to help with that one. That
Because
one's
they'll leave
that's not gonna go.
mid
Dude,
show.
dude, Rob, you like because you're from PA, you know how much venomous was Eric, you ever went to a Pennsylvania show?
No.
Yeah, oh, Jesus Christ.
Do it
It's
once. Blow your mind. Blow your mind.
it's whatever the fuck you want is on the table.
Yeah.
And dude, there's so much venomous here, and I'd never seen the amount of, like, free handling, all of
Oh,
that, like, that wasn't a thing. And
It's
that
all the
I don't
Instagram
understand.
people.
yeah,
Everyone wants their 15 minutes.
Yeah.
dude, but I'm gonna put together a clip. I'm gonna put together a couple clips of the what I'm seeing in the venomous community, and, I describe it as like, "Dude, you're playing Russian roulette," like,
Yep.
Yeah.
but
There's a reason why I follow those guys on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And it's not because I want to learn something,
yeah.
because I'm looking for what happens.
Yeah, well, you wanna watch the train wreck.
I'm a huge fan of chaos, my
Yeah.
brother. Huge fan.
But I don't I don't understand what's possessing them. Clearly, they've never been taken a bad bite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, look at retics. Like, once you get wrapped up once, or you take one bad bite, you do change some stuff. You
A little gun shy.
Yeah, you get a little gun shy, you definitely change maybe how you're doing some stuff, but I don't understand how this venomous community got to the point that they're at today that, we're just gonna go on TikTok and put a king cobra around our neck. It's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that that kind of stems, Rodney, if I could a little bit, take some privileges here. We grew up
Doing
with
it all
Brad
night,
McCarthy.
Rob. Been doing it
Well,
all
you're
night.
welcome. Keep having me on. We grew up with Brad McCarthy, and Brad
Yeah,
McCarthy took a bite,
yeah,
and it was a scary bite, right? And that taught us, like, listen, even the best of the best get bit.
yeah.
Because
Yep.
Brad McCarthy, in my opinion, Godfather. Godfather status. He is the best of the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he almost lost a fucking arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his fucking scar runs from
Oh,
here the whole way down up into here, then he's got all these ones. Yeah, dude.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
western bite. They had to
yeah.
fillet his arm
Um,
open, uh, to for this because of the swelling.
yeah.
Yeah, so it just
But when
wasn't.
you witness something like that young in your career,
Yeah.
even though it's not happening to us,
No, after
and even
seeing his arm, I was like, "Man, I'm not gonna be taking too many risks."
yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with these big snakes. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, is there any other topics you guys wanna hit? We're right at the almost 2-hour mark.
Do
Think
we
we're
touch
good.
masturbation or
I mean, we can.
okay? Well, it seems like the way to do it.
Yeah, it's one of my breeding strategies down in the snake room.
I let them see me do it.
Yeah, the get
They're
yeah.
like, "Come on." No, this is live, right?
No, no, no,
Oh, good.
I don't do live. No, no way. I mean, I might do a live someday, but I'll have to have, like, a set of notes of things not to say, just in case.
For me and you and
Yeah,
Eric, or
yeah, Eric usually doesn't do say too much to get himself in trouble, though.
I try to stay right in the middle and just like do my shit, and that's it.
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I live.
That's where I'm trying to head. I'm trying to head towards that middle ground a little bit more because, and I want people to watch this stuff because I feel like we're putting out this is a good discussion.
Of course,
Yeah. This is a
I
good
enjoy it.
discussion, and I would hate for somebody not to watch this discussion just because they heard something negative about me, because 'cause they're not gonna hear anything negative about you 2, but but they might, their chances are they're gonna hear something about me, and I would really hate for people to miss out on yeah, I mean, how many years of experience of keeping reptiles is here right now? I got 37 years, you know?
Yeah, like over 20 with retics.
Yeah, just yeah.
I'm hitting 10. No, 32. I think is what I got.
Yeah, so, I mean, in total, we're looking at, like, 100 years of experience of working with reptiles, and for retics, I'm at 20, Eric's over 20. What are you at? You gotta be around 20, Rob.
I was 17 when I got my first, so I am 30.
Okay.
I'm
For first retic?
32 with my first retake was 17. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so, yeah, we're at a, 70 years of retic experience.
I'm just older than you guys. I think right.
I'm 42. I don't know.
46.
40
47.
yeah, you're old as fuck. Way to be old,
Yeah,
Rob.
I'm gonna go masturbate. See ya.
But no, I mean, I just, and so I'm gonna keep trying to put out this content and, hopefully people tune in and enjoy it.
I think it will.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
maybe. But yeah, if there any other topics you guys wanna hit that we didn't touch on?
think we're good. I mean,
Alright.
I can think of
anything
about
you want to talk
10.
about?
You wanna go through 10 more topics? Is that what you wanna do, Rob?
Yeah, but I just got a notification saying I got 5% battery, so I don't know if we get through that.
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, I already
You would
changed.
think I would charge my phone after the last
Yeah, after
debacle,
the
but
last fucking time it almost died on us.
hey, staying true.
Yeah. Alright, well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I'm gonna hit, the stop recording button, but don't hang up because this has to finish uploading before you guys hang up. But, yeah, if there's anything, you guys wanna plug, any of your social medias that you guys don't use?
You can find me on Instagram, SB Snow King.
Okay.
About it.
Rob,
Look for me.
do you even know the name of your Instagram? What it's under, or
I think it's Rob Roush.
yeah. I think I can't see you on, Facebook. I think you're still blocked from when Garrett said we couldn't talk to each other.
I tried to look you up the other day, and I
Yeah,
can't see you either.
that's because yeah, I don't have you blocked, you have me blocked.
Well, send me a text on how to unblock you.
I don't know how to do that.
You don't think I should do that?
Well, I don't know how to
Oh,
unblock. Yeah, I don't it's yeah, you have to go into your privacy settings or something, so,
those are private.
yeah.